How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Aroostook Barbell. Here we're going to jump right into it. The main movement for today is a lower body day. It's a giant cambered bar, good morning, suspended off the chains. So you have to break that inertia off the chains. There's also chains hanging from the barbell because you'll see as she goes through that movement, the movement gets easier as she goes up. So the chains are to basically even out that whole strength curve. She's trying to keep her hips high and lead with her upper back. And she does it beautifully there. She doesn't want to turn it into some kind of a weird swinging squat. It's intended to just hammer the lower back. And she does those absolutely flawlessly. I'm really proud of her for that. All of this stuff is working up to helping to build her strength going into a basic conjugate block. Here we're moving on now next to a kettlebell goblet squat. The point of this, other than it works absolutely everything, is that weight out in front of her forces her to keep her upper back locked in and tight. It's also a little bit of a quad smoker, if you will. So here we're shooting for reps. So she has a fairly heavy kettlebell for her. And the idea, again, is just to get some volume in. She's far enough away from her competition in the fall where she really needs to hammer volume, but hammer it with strength in mind, not so much strength endurance, but she's doing this sort of to prep for, if you will, the conjugate block that she will be doing. It's just a basic conjugate block. So there's going to be a main movement, a secondary movement, and like 2 to 4 assistance movements roughly to work on whatever her weak points are for that time period. Now we're working into hamstring curls. We did a few different types of hamstring curls here today. We started with kind of the easiest, and then we worked into a little bit harder, a little bit harder. So she's just doing some seated banded hamstring curls for a fairly high volume. You can see you kind of have to move around with this movement to figure out what feels the best. Nothing ever feels right. Banded hamstring curls always feel a little bit awkward. It always feels like it just doesn't feel quite right. You kind of have to just sort of go in there and accept that and just do the best that you can with them. But bands are super accessible for anybody. They're really, inexpensive. So it's a great way to get a lot of volume in for your hamstrings. So you can see she's just kind of trying to figure out what feels the best for her. And then after that, we're going to move into a lying face down hamstring curl with the band also. We tried doing this. I have a pulley machine, a cable pulley machine off to the left of this screen. It just didn't feel great. The bands don't feel super wonderful either, but it gets the work in. Like, who cares, right? As long as you're getting the work in, it doesn't matter how you're getting it in. So the idea for the hamstrings is to get a lot of volume in, really get some blood pumping in there, because what you're going to see is what she's going to jump over to next. And lastly, for the hamstring, yes, it's a lot of hamstring work, very much on purpose at this stage of her training. She's going to jump into the glute ham raise, which this is the most difficult. She's trying not to use her body for momentum to get her up, but this is a very difficult movement. If you've never done it before, it just is. If you have been doing them for years, you know exactly what I mean. Done properly, elite athletes, a lot of them have a hard time with these. You're basically curling your entire body weight up on your biceps femoris. And then we finish off with a ab wheel rollout. I love this movement. It stretches the rib cage, stretches out the lats. And it's a great core strengthener. It's a really good finisher. She can kind of relax when she gets close to her knees there and really put the work in when she stretches out. So we always mix up core work, whether it's a standing ab strap pull down, these sandbag carries, something to really engage the core, whether it's kind of on sort of a sagittal plane like this here or a little bit of lighter rotational work. Anyway, have a great day.